Toi tū te whenua, whatu ngaro te tangata. We are honoured to have with us, unfortunately, Aipurangi ni, Pipiri kia Papatuanuku, a social movement led by rangatahi Māori that is raising awareness and engaging people to make environmentally sustainable choices in their everyday lives. Tamoko te rangi and Waimirirangi Ormsby urge us all to Pipiri kia Papatuanuku. In essence, this is an environmental, sustainable social movement that's reconnecting us with Papatuanuku. The couple are promoting the idea of many people making conscious decisions and actions to minimise our impact on the environment. Their strategy is to inspire small but manageable steps to minimise our waste footprint around the office and at home. It is about making more conscious choices about what we are consuming, educating ourselves about industrial or factory farmed dairy or meat products and their effect on Papatuanuku. Korua, tēnei ka mihi ake. Taupiri maunga waikato awa. Ko pirongia maunga tēnei e tupu ake ni te mahunga. Nā reira mihi ana ki te hononga, rā ko tainui waka, ko tiro tangata, o tira, ko tō tātou kiingi tūheitia, potatau te wherawhera te tuawhetu. Hoi anō e te iwi, ho mai te pakipaki, o tāmoko o te rangi, rāua ko Waimirirangi Ormsby.
Tēnā tātou, kei te rongo tātou i ahau, thumbs up, ka pai, ka rawe. Ka timata ke e konei. Tēnei ka noho i te mauri o tōku tūpuna e tūhakarehu nei awai. Mirirangi e hakarongorua o Putaringa ki te puhi o te hau. Ere mai ana i hutara ki te tai tōkera. E te tai akarunga me te tai hakararo. Koutou ngā hinga me ngā tapu. Nau mai rā. Haere mai. Nau mai rā. Haere mai. Tēnā rau atu tātou, tuatahi ake e mihi ana ki a koutou o te taumata, koutou ngā mana whenua, o te takiwara o te Waipaunanu. Tēnā rau atu koutou i pōhiri mai ki ahau, kāre anō kia Waimaria ki taku makau, e mahi tonu ana i tēnei wā. Hoi anō kei konei au, hei kanohi, hei waha mo te kaupapa nei. Mihi oke ana ki a koutou ngā kaupapa haere, koutou i whakatūria i te kaupapa rangatira nei i te Putahitanga. Tēnā rau atu koutou. Nā runga anō i te kaupapa, me ahuru mō ai tātou i tēnei ata, pai heretea ngā wawata, pai heretea te tangata, nā pai heretea ki te rangi Māori, e tautoko marika nā mātou. O tira tātou, o te takiwa nei o Waikato o Taupiri, e mihi nei kia koutou. Kia ore te whānau, this is weird, doing this online. Hoi anō. I'm still fortunate that we could still present today, or myself, Tamoko has had to go back to mahi, but we're here. We're gutted that we couldn't be there tinana, but everything happens for a reason, and thankful for te auhau, te ao hangarau, me ngā āhuatanga o te matihiko that we could still present to you fellas this morning. So, tēnā rau atu koe bro, I whakarāpopoto I tā mātou nei kaupapa, pipiri kia Papatuanuku. So, my name is Waimirirangi Ormsby, he hononga, from the north, obviously, nā taku ingoa, but my whenua is buried on our tupuna maunga of Taupiri next to our tupuna awa of Waikato, so my feet are heavily rooted here in Waikato, where I'm tuning in from, spending every holiday with my grandparents, who came to get me from whāngarei, from my other grandparents. So yeah, this is a bit of an explanation of who I am and where I come from. My last name is Ormsby, now that I am married, but I also have hononga to the whānau kōpū, whānau berryman and the whānau stone. And Tamoko is from here, Waikato, Maniapoto. He's in Ormsby from Maniapoto, and his whānau is from here, from Tūranga Waiwai Marae. So mihi nui ana kia koutou. The bro pretty much summed up our kaupapa. So I've chosen this morning to speak more about the why of Pipiri kia Papatūānuku, what led us to starting the kaupapa 5 years ago and what's kind of keeping us pumping today. As opposed to the what and the how, because that stuff you can find online, you can read about us, it's a social media kaupapa, and so all of that information is on the Ipurangi. And so I would rather spend this time talking about the why and the purpose behind Pipiri kia Papatūānuku. My whakātiranga or my kōrero this morning isn't going to be very long. I know you have a big day ahead of you and you've already had a big day, so I'll just try and keep it small and to the point. And then I'll leave, I know that there'll be time for some pārtai, some questions at the end. So I'm just going to get straight into it. I had a whakātiranga, I had a presentation that if I was there I was going to present it, but because we're online, I didn't want that to be a barrier toward me still being able to present, being on a screen and then having another screen up. So I'm just going to kōrero to you this morning. So the purpose for Pipiri kia Papatūānuku, one of the big reasons why we started our kaupapa was for our awa. Waikato te awa, koi ato mātou oranga ao mai pōmai. So we do everything for our awa of Waikato, and that is the main purpose why we've chosen to start the kaupapa of Pipiri kia Papatūānuku and make those small lifestyle changes in our lives. But that kōrero comes from our tūpuna. So we are mokopuna of the kingitanga. And here in Waikato, it all started with, I'm going to share a bit of a pūrākau. It started with our second Māori king, Kingi Tāwhiao. So during the times of before we were about to go into our land wars, our pā wars, Kingi Tāwhiao and Governor Grey, one of the leaders of the European settlers that come to Aotearoa, was about to go into these discussions about raupatu and about what was going to happen between the war between Māori and Waipakeha. And Governor Grey pretty much came to us and said, you know, you have to cede your lands, you have to get off of your lands, you have to give us your whenua. And if you don't, firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send our cows. And that to us was kaukawana. And what those cows are going to do is they're going to drink your waters dry, and they're going to trample on your whenua, and you won't have any food, you won't have prosperous lands to eat off of, and you won't have any water to drink, therefore your people will die. And if that doesn't work, following that, we are going to send our troops and our guns, and we are going to take the land if you don't, pretty much if you don't succeed to us. And Kingi Tāwhiao at the time said to him, pretty much run it straight, bring it on. And that comes from a lot of the tongikura in our iwi, a lot of the prophetic sayings left by our kings and our prophets. And one really prominent one from that time was, he said to him, he manawa a whenua, e kore e mimiti. And that meant that no matter what you do, no matter what you kind of say about the cows and your tools and approaches to colonization, our people are a wellspring that lives deep, deep, deep within the earth, and we will never ever diminish, and we will never ever die from our whenua. He manawa a whenua e kore e mimiti. And so that instance from 160 years ago about agriculture and the introduction of cows from Europe has been a big reason why today we still see those in the Waikato region being one of the biggest catchment areas along the Waikato River, mai Tongariro ki te Puaha. And the effects that those cows are still having on our people today. And so kaukawana is a big part of the reason why we have the conversations around beef and farming and agriculture and the effects that they have on our awa. And we live next to our awa, the outsource of Waipa that goes into the Waikato here in Ngarua Wahia. And we can see it and we can smell it, and the realities of that in our everyday life, knowing that the mauri and the mana of our awa is diminished every single day because of those wera momo āhuatanga, is just kind of a reality check for us when we're having all these hui about our awa, at our kareti, at our college, at our marae, as part of our iwi, and then after those kōrero we have a kai that includes the beef from the farms that are along our awa that are polluting our awa. Was kind of a reality check for us when we started the kaupapa of Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanuku. And so following on from that part in our history, after Raupatu and after Muru Whenua and after our people were displaced off of our lands, we were then, Kingi Tawhiao was not forced, but he was placed with the opportunity to regenerate our people and to resolve those grievances. And so we moved into the new tongikura, where he was trying to rebuild our people with what we had. And so that tongikura is mākua no tōku nei whare e hanga ko ngā pauoroto, he māhoi, he patate, ko te tāhuhu, he hino. And so after the land wars around about the 1860s, he said to our people, you know, we will facet our own house, meeting house. We didn't have the means because our land had been taken off of us. We will facet our own meeting house, and we will make that meeting house out of the lesser known or the not as famous woods in our ngahere. Māhoi, patate and hino is the ridgepole. And if you know your rākau, then you'll know that those momo rākau, those things are quite twiggy. They're not your tōtara or your rimu or your kauri trees. They're just quite spindly rākau, but he was pretty much just saying that we will do what we need to with the resources that we have. And so that kind of moved us into the area that we're in now, and from then we carry those tongikura in the mahi that we do. And so that's just a bit of a context toward the reason why we started Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanuku. Yes, it is a kaupapa that encourages sustainable living and sustainable choices in a contemporary context, but that is just one small huarahi or one small approach to how we've gone about doing that, because that was an area where we saw we have the most control over in our everyday lives is the things and the decisions that we make. So Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanuku, within the ingoa, Pipiri, to keep very close, Kia Papa Tuanuku, to Papa Tuanuku, to our Earth Mother, and inevitably with Ranginui and Wōrāua Tamariki. But Pipiri is also the lunar month of June, so when we celebrate our Māori New Year, and that's the time of the year where we've allocated the kaupapa to run. It runs for the lunar month, so usually from Rākau Nui to Rākau Nui, so full moon to full moon. And so it's not always from the 1st of June to the 30th or 31st of June. Sometimes it starts on the 7th of June to the whichever date that Rākau Nui then falls on for the next month. But it's just that reconnection, kia tāno te iho te tangata me te taiao, so we can continue to practice norms around being connected to our taiao, our maramataka, our whenua and our wai, and just creating more comfortable, safe and manaki forums and approaches for whānau to be able to be involved in that. And so that is the kaupapa of Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanuku. We have 9 actions to represent, in some rohe, the 9 stars or the 7 stars of Matariki. And those range from giving up meat, maybe 1 day a week for that month, or a few days a week, or for the whole week. Those are the harder choices. Or giving up plastic for a certain amount of time during that period, or it might be just choosing one item within your whare that you're going to reuse for that whole month. And whānau are given the option to choose all of the 9 actions, or you can choose one part of one action. The main thing is that our whānau feel comfortable in being part of a kaupapa or being part of a community, a hapori, that's uplifting of those changes and it's not restricting. Because we find that when we go to kaupapa, we're labelled or titled as these environmentalists or vegans or weratu momo ingoa, but we're not. We're just Māori, and we've just following this approach where we are trying our best to live as best as we can for our awa and for our maunga. We are not any of these titles that anybody puts onto us. And so that's the environment that we've tried to create with Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanuku. It's a place for whānau to feel comfortable to make those decisions for 1 month, give it a go. Like similar to a lot of initiatives that are out there now, Junk-Free June, you know, give up junk food for a whole month or whatever. How can we change some of the lifestyle decisions that we bring into our houses just for 1 month? And you can fail and you can triumph. We encourage all of it. We're not perfect here at Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanaku. So yeah, that is the kaupapa there. Where we're kind of moving into now is a kaupapa that I was wanting to share whitiata. So we had a video, but I wasn't sure how it was going to work, and it's okay. But our kaupapa now is moving into hosting a rangatahi wānanga here in Hopu Hopu at the college, at the Waikato Tainui College, for 40 rangatahi, 20 from Waikato and 20 from around the motu, where we come together. And yes, te taiao is the waka, koira hoki te whare ahuru mōwai. The taiao is the kaupapa that's been able to bring us all together, but the main kaupapa for tuataua taiao, which is the name of the kaupapa, is to practice putahitanga within our reanga. So one thing that we've identified over the last 5 years that we've been running this kaupapa has been that we can't be the only two, because it feels like it is a lonely road sometimes, that are in this space. We want to build that capacity, that capability, and that passion and that hikaka within our reanga, within our taina, so our gen and our younger rangatahi of our generation, to be able to be part of something where you can work full-time, which is what we've done. We've created Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanaku, now it's our full-time job, and to do kaupapa for the taiao full-time as a job. And wera momo āhuatanga, so how can we practice working together now before we are in positions of bigger influence or decision making, and we can't talk to each other, and then that inevitably impacts the decisions that are made for our taiao. So koira te kaupapa o tuataua taiao, that's happening from the 27th to the 29th of Paingawhawha of this month, so in 3 weeks' time. We have our taua of 40 rangatahi that are coming together, and we've already started those wānanga over the last 2 weeks to see what we're going to come up with when we come together. And the reason why we're having it at the college is going back to that tongikura again, is mākua no tōku nei whare e hanga ko ngā pau o roto he māhoi he patate ko te tāhuhu he hino. That was a big tongikura that Tāte Kotahi Mahuta infiltrated or implemented into the creation of the college up at Hopu Hopu, and it was to bring together those 3 wings of mātauranga Māori and mātauranga Taketake. So one wing is dedicated to us of Waikato, because the venue is here, and then another wing is dedicated to ngā iwi o te motu, and then the last wing is for the indigenous knowledge systems that come from our whanaunga around the world. So it was our intention to bring another 20 from other indigenous cultures, but because of te mate uruta and the coronavirus and all of those things, we couldn't do that. But I think it was fitting. Like I said, everything happens for a reason, and we were able to start first with our own whānau here at home. So that's the kaupapa that's led on 5 years after starting Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanaku. We're now in a position to be able to work with more rangatahi, just to work together. The kaupapa is just putahitanga. Can we just walk together, have yarns, get along, be friends, you know? And I have the saying that while we're nobodies, how can we be nobodies together before we're somebodies and nobody cares? And so that's a big part of the kaupapa that we're driving, is just to be hoa, just to be friends now. So yeah, that's pretty much the kaupapa of Pipiri Kia Papa Tuanaku. There's a lot more information online. I didn't want to bore everyone or go into detail of all those things that you can read somewhere else. I just really wanted to leave with you the main message of the pūtake, the reason why we started and the reason why we will continue to do the mahi that we do. And we understand that alongside the kaupapa of whānau ora and the amazing mahi that te pūtahitanga and this kaupapa has created for whānau, there's a big connection between creating that self-sustainability within our own reanga, within our own hapori, and within our own iwi and hapu and marae. And so that's a big part of our kaupapa. It's not about this, there are no proper Pākehā words that accurately describe, I think, the mahi that a lot of us are in. You can only describe it in te reo Māori. Toa taua taia o pipiri kia papatuanuku, te pūtahitanga, wera momo kaupapa, he kaupapa whānui ake i tēnei mea te sustainability, me te environmentalism, me wera momo āhuatanga, but it's a start. And we're still rangatahi, we're still learning, we're probably going to make a lot of mistakes before we get to whatever our end road is, but because our awa is our yesterday, our today and tomorrow, we will never give up, even though we're in spaces that are very bureaucratic and archaic and slow, which is the area that we don't talk to whānau about mostly because we want the space to be a space of opportunity and progression, not just for our pakeke and ruruhi and koroheke or ourselves, but for our teina coming through. We don't want to put that pressure of those grievances onto them as well, so that they can think of into a space of future opportunities to further push our people forward. But yeah, I think I'm gonna finish there, and hopefully I've covered everything. It's still weird, it feels like I'm talking to myself, but I can see everybody's beautiful faces, and koira ka waiho pia I reira, koina ia taupiri maunga a waikato awa anō e mihi nui ana kia koutou, o tira oku waiora, oku whenua maha o te motu nei, kia koutou katoa, tēnā rawa te koutou I tēnei rangi. And if there are any pātai, I don't know how we're going to make that work, but yeah, thank you all.
Tēnā koe, we do have a microphone here. You're able to hear me? Give me a thumbs up. So if anyone did have that they would like to ask, I can bring the microphone over. We do have a group of rakatahi attending the symposium as well, so hopefully your words have resonated with them and inspired them, and perhaps there might be a pātai. Ka pai o tēnā koe I o au kupu aki, kia tātou, kia tiaki I te taiao, no te kou o rehua he wai no rua whetū, ko au te awa, ko te awa ko au. Tēnā koe.